Well, Rafa, welcome to Kicking Tables. It's great to have you here. I know that your Connecting Flights campaign just started and it's doing so well. You've already been funded in less than a day. So, congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for having me on this podcast.
Of course. So, why don't you tell our listeners what, our viewers actually, what Connecting Flights is all about?
So, Connecting Flights is a game for 1 to 5 players in which you manage an airline, and the game has been described as two different games just because it has two modes. In one of them, you play cooperatively, so that's for 1 to 5 players, and you are basically trying to cope with the passenger demand and get all the passengers home by the end of the game. And then there is the competitive mode for 2 to 5 players. And in that, you're basically competing against the other players to build the most efficient, profitable airline. And in the course of doing so, you'll face various aviation-related events. You'll get to possibly even sabotage other players.
Okay.
You get to participate in auctions, and yeah, it's generally quite a high interaction Eurogame, I would describe it.
That's awesome. So you've got both you've got both competitive and a cooperative mode in the game.
That's correct.
That's awesome.
So tell me, did you come from the aviation background, or where did you come up with the idea for the game?
I did study aircraft engineering when I was at university, but then I moved on to doing a PhD, which was focused on optimizing the logistics of actually offshore wind farms. So not quite related to that, but actually I did manage in the 2 degrees that I did manage to combine those into this game because obviously I took the theme from my aircraft engineering degree, but I took the logistical problems from my PhD and basically combined the two because when I was studying my PhD, I just thought that these logistical problems that I was solving was not really something that was captured by in the board games at this time, because it's kind of like the problems of the traveling salesman problem, where you're trying to find the shortest route between a set of different points.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that so much in board games. So I thought it would be quite a nice problem to basically design a board game around it.
The concept of the game with the passengers coming out and you needing to get them home, now are you playing when it's co-op? Are you playing against the game in a way? How does the co-op or the solo differ from the multiplayer?
Yeah, so like you said, you're playing against the game. So where you start with 15 passengers on the board, and over the course of the game, you'll kind of you'll be removing those passengers. There's 10 rounds in the game, and every round you'll hopefully transport some of them and remove them from the board. But then every round also a few new passengers will come up, and so when you're playing solo, you're just playing against the game. But when you're playing with another player, you're kind of working together in order to move all the passengers. And obviously, by working together, I mean sometimes you have to make tough decisions on who should be purchasing given planes, given airports, and kind of how to geographically distribute the airports on the board, who owns what, and also how, in terms of the short-term decision making, it's all about how to kind of hand over the passengers from one player to the other so that they are efficiently transported to their destinations.
Okay, I mean what were some of your inspirations in developing this game? Because some of the mechanics seem almost pandemic-like.
Yes, that's correct. So definitely the pandemic was one of the inspirations, and the other inspiration I would say was Power Grid. That's maybe not so obvious in the cooperative mode, but definitely in the competitive mode, the auctions and also the kind of the aspect of working with the map quite a lot and building routes. That's kind of almost borrowed from the Power Grid.
A little
Very cool.
bit of Ticket to Ride there too, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, what are some of your favorite strategies? When you're building out your routes and stuff like that. What sort of things do you look to try to do first?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, having playtested this game a lot, I don't think I have a favorite strategy. I'm just kind of trying to work with what comes at me. For example, the cars that come up in the auctions are pretty much randomized, so you
Yeah.
never really know what's going to come up. And so you just always have to work with what comes up. So for example, if cheap passengers come up, maybe they are not so great because they don't make you a lot of income. But if they come up and no one else wants them, then I might as well just buy them for a cheap price and make money that way. Or similarly, sometimes it's also the player cards that can drive your strategy. So, for example, some of the asymmetric abilities that we have in the game are really can influence quite heavily your strategy. So maybe you're an aircraft engineer, and that means that your planes are really fuel efficient. So that means
Okay.
that you can pretty much fly around the world, and you don't really have to worry too much about how long you're flying the passenger for.
Okay.
Which role is your favorite to play as?
Um, I would say the market analyst is quite fun because you get to, at the start of every round, you get to take a peek at the event cards that are coming up, and you get to influence them. So you get to choose which one is coming up, and you can really the event cards, they are quite powerful because first of all there's an event that affects everyone, so you can choose what's going to happen when. But also the event card contains information about who will be able to do a sabotage later in the game. So you again might use that information to your advantage when you're making that decision.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, in a multiplayer game, what is the deciding factor of the winner? Like, what are you competing to do? Is just to get the most people home? Are there points at the end of the game?
In the competitive mode,
Yes.
you're basically building up an engine. So you start the game off with a single flight that will make you a little money, a little income. But over the course of the game, you accumulate that income and you use it to purchase additional cards, expand your flight network, and basically build up your engine. So towards the end of the game, you might have 4, 5, even 6 different flights. And these basically are your engine. And so the winning condition is whoever has the best engine at the end of the game, whoever has the highest income.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
awesome. Awesome. So you're competing to be the best airline by
Yeah.
the end. Awesome. How does the game look now compared to when you first started developing it? Is it the game you envisioned at the beginning, and how did the game change from inception to completion?
Yeah, there were quite a few changes. For example, right now we have these player abilities that are asymmetric, but previously employees were we had employees instead, which were like basically cars that you could hire. But I just found it really difficult to balance the game this way because there were a couple of strategies where you just went for the employees and it was just too powerful. And I think it just works much better having the one unique special ability rather than having 5 different employees. And then also the graphic design changed quite a lot. So for example, previously the cards were taking up much more table space, and that was really causing problems, especially in 4 and 5 player games, just because it was quite hard to fit the game on an average size table. So
Yeah.
I kind of changed it a bit so that the cards stack a bit better and they take up a bit less space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
So tell us a little bit about the future plans for Connecting Flights. Do you have any expansions planned out? Any additional content that you're hoping to be able to get out now that you've been funded?
Yeah, my next stretch goal is actually a set of solo and cooperative scenarios. So the idea there is to basically, well, in the base game at the moment, the at the start of the game, it's just randomized. The passengers that come up on the board, it's completely random. But so for this stretch goal, I had the idea of having scenarios. So for example, it might be like something like a worldwide event such as the Olympics,
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
and then we would have a little historical description in the rulebook about maybe a particular Olympics in the history, and then a particular set of passengers would appear on the board that would kind of correlate with that event. So, for example, if it was an Olympics, there would be lots of people from all around the world traveling to that one place, and
Oh,
that would
right.
kind
Yeah.
of present a bit of a different challenge because it's no longer random. It's kind of like a problem that you have to solve. And then again, because it's a scenario and because the solo and co-op mode has customizable difficulty, then you can almost play that scenario, play it once, and then if you don't manage to win, you can just play it again. This time it's not really random because the setup is the same.
Yeah.
So you can try and basically beat the game at a particular difficulty level, or just beat the game at all if you don't manage to.
Well, that's
Nice.
really neat.
That's cool.
All right. So we have a segment that we like to do with people now. It's called our lightning round. We're going to ask you a few questions, if you're open to it, about board gaming, just to get to know you a little bit better. You okay with answering a few?
Yeah.
All right. So these are all board game and board game related. Most recent game purchase.
Oh, I believe it was Munchkin DuckTales
Oh.
edition.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
I love the Munchkin games. Legacy games. Destroy components or preserve them.
Destroy.
Destroy.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Game you most want to add to your collection.
Ah. Well. I'll. It's tricky.
It is. That
No,
is a
I
hard
can't.
one.
Yeah. Because like these days, you can just most games you can just go and buy, right? So.
Well,
No, I don't
what's next on your purchase list? What are you looking at?
What am I looking at? I'm just at the moment. I'm waiting on a few Kickstarters.
Okay.
Aren't
But
we all?
yeah, but no, nothing really comes to mind at the moment.
All right, that's fair.
All right. Your favorite game mechanic.
Yeah, I would say engine building, and that you can see that from the game I designed. It's also Power Grid is one of my favorite games, and the engine building element is really strong in there.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Marvel or DC?
Pass. Don't really care, to be honest.
Oh,
All right.
all right. Interesting.
All right. Game you love but always lose.
Scythe.
Okay.
Right. All right. Worker placement or area control?
Worker placement.
Worker placement. All right. And last one, campaign or legacy?
Legacy.
Yeah, me
Legacy.
too. I love legacy games.
Yeah.
Well, Raphael, it's been a pleasure having you on the show to learn more about Connecting Flights. It's doing incredibly well on Kickstarter right now, and it goes on until May 13th. So everybody go check out Connecting Flights. But Rafa, before we let you go, give us the elevator pitch for Connecting Flights. Why should we back this game?
Cool. I think that Connecting Flights is a new twist on the network slash route building mechanic, because traditionally, like games like Ticket to Ride or pretty much any other route building game, you're kind of just assembling your network on the board, and once you do, it stays like that for most of the game, and that's fine and that works. But with Connecting Flights, you basically get to reassemble your routes and your network pretty much every round for the 10 rounds of the game. So each round presents a unique problem that you have to solve and figure out. How do I most efficiently arrange my routes so that I'm not paying too much for fuel? so that all my passengers are happy, and so that I get as much done as possible and I make as much money as possible. And so I think it's just something that I would recommend trying, and because it's in my opinion it's definitely a unique mechanic.
Yeah, awesome. Rafa, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure speaking with you tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for watching. I would like to invite you to our Kickstarter page. Have a look at how we're doing. Have a look at the stretch goals. We have a really cool video that you could check out. And please subscribe to OMG Nexus. There should be a button right there.